Don't be evil in the Cashapp's code of conduct. Maybe we should take it. It's open. It's free now.
One of our like equivalent operating principles within Cash and Square is like how do we understand someone's struggle? Like how do we understand, like how do we have the empathy for like what they're struggling with? And like when it comes to finance, they're struggling with a lot. Typically, they're struggling with a ton.
What was the thought process with, I mean, one of the things that's kind of cool about the Cash App is that you can buy and sell Bitcoin with it.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to consider other forms of cryptocurrency as well?
Not right now. So back to the internet, I believe the internet will have a native currency.
Really?
It'll have a native currency. And I don't know if it's Bitcoin. I think it will, because just given all the tests it's been through and the principles behind it, how it was created, and you know, it was something that was born on the internet, that was developed on the internet, that it was tested on the internet. It is of the internet. And the reason we, you know, we enabled the purchasing of Bitcoin within the Cash App is, one, we want to learn about the technology and we want to put ourselves out there and take some risk. We're the first publicly traded company to actually offer it as a service. We're the first publicly traded company to talk to the SEC about Bitcoin and what that means. And it made us uncomfortable. We had to you know, like really understand what was going on, and that was critical and important. And then the second thing is that we would love to see something become a global currency. It enables more access. It allows us to serve more people. It allows us to move much faster around the world. And we thought we were going to start with how you can use it transactionally, but we noticed that people were treating it more like an asset, like a virtual gold, and we wanted just to make that easy, like just the simplest way to buy and sell Bitcoin. But we also knew that it had to come with a lot of education. It had to come with constraint, because, you know, 2 years ago, people did some really unhealthy things about, you know, purchasing Bitcoin. They maxed out their credit cards and put all their life savings into Bitcoin. So we developed some very simple restrictions and constraints, like you can't buy Bitcoin on the Cash App with a credit card. It has to be the money you actually have in it. And we look for day trading, which we discourage and shut down. Like that's not what we were trying to build. That's not what we were trying to optimize for. We made a children's book explaining what a virtual gold, and we wanted just to make that easy, like just the simplest way to buy and sell Bitcoin. But we also knew that it had to come with a lot of education. It had to come with constraint, because, you know, 2 years ago, people did some really unhealthy things about, you know, purchasing Bitcoin. They maxed out their credit cards and put all their life savings into Bitcoin. So we developed some very simple restrictions and constraints, like you can't buy Bitcoin on the Cash App with a credit card. It has to be the money you actually have in it. And we look for day trading, which we discourage and shut down. Like that's not what we were trying to build. That's not what we were trying to optimize for. We made a children's book explaining what Bitcoin is and where it came from and how people use it and where it might be going. So we really tried to take on the role of education and to have some like very simple, healthy constraints that allowed people to consider what their actions are in the space.
Now, when you have something like the Cash App, which is it's very much a disruptive technology in terms of like decentralization of banks and currency, and you know, to have it where everything is going right, you're direct depositing a paycheck right in the app if you so choose, and then you could also buy Bitcoin, which is another disruptive technology. I mean, this is another step towards this sort of new way of doing things.
Yeah.
And is there pushback from any companies, or is there?
Oh yeah. I mean, like you just look at like some of the major banks and their consideration around Bitcoin. They all love blockchain because of the efficiencies it can create for their business, and potentially, new business lines, but I think there is a...
Explain blockchain to people, for people who don't know what we're talking about.
Blockchain is a distributed ledger, and what that means is that it's basically a distributed database where the source of truth can be verified at any point around the network, and you can see this annotation around how content or how around money traveled.
So you don't have to go to an institution to get the records.
There's no centralized check. There's no centralized control over it, and I think that is threatening. It's certainly threatening to certain services behind banks and financial institutions. It's threatening to some governments as well. So I just look at this and how do we embrace this technology, not react to it in more from a threat standpoint, but what does it enable us to do, and where does our value shift? And that's what we should be talking about right now, is how our value shifts. And there's always really strong answers to that question. But if you're not willing to ask the question in the first place, you will become irrelevant, because technology will just continue to march on and make you irrelevant. And it's the people that are growing up with this technology, or born with the technology, only knowing that technology, or are asking the tough questions of themselves that are going to be super disruptive to their business, and they're thinking about it right now, and they're taking actions. And we're doing that at Square, and we're doing that at Twitter, and that to me represents longevity. That represents our ability to thrive, and we got to push ourselves. We got to make ourselves uncomfortable, and we got to disrupt what we held sacred and what we think is success today, because otherwise it's not going to be bigger than what we have today.